Happy Victory Monday.
Yeah,
for
man.
at least another week, Tony, you can, without reservation, love on your Jaguars, hug on your Jaguars, embrace your Jaguars as they went 1-0 this week. And maybe, just maybe, we need Ventrell Miller to give a pregame talk every week, right? Because it's not just that they won, right? Because they've been close and they won one other game this year without that big pregame speech. But you hear Doug Pederson right there in the postgame locker room saying, hey, let's bring this same intensity every single week. So I don't know where it was during the first two Patriot drives, but beyond that, pretty good performance, blowout second quarter, which is just what the doctor ordered.
No doubt. Look, this is a football team that couldn't have needed that moment more than they did, right? Like, don't need to be down 10-0 to anybody.
No.
But going down 10-0 to anybody, and the 2024 version of the Jaguars being able to overcome that kind of anything within a football game, I do think that's a potentially big moment for him. We'll see. I don't want to talk about dividends going into the future. Obviously, the schedule is much tougher starting this week against Green Bay. You go down 10-0 against Green Bay, that's a different story, right? Like, it's just a completely different animal. But against New England, 10-0 shouldn't be dead. And 10-0 wasn't dead
right.
For the football team yesterday. So at least little victories, right? Within victories for the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday, being they overcame some adversity within a football game yesterday and in the end dominated the New England Patriots when everything was said and done. Those last three quarters, they dominated the New England Patriots, the offensive line getting the job done, the run game obviously getting the job done. Don't need ETN out there for Tank Bigsby to be the man for a Sunday, right? Like these kind of things are really good signs for the football team going forward. They are still clearly a team that you look at them right now, week to week, if they're going to win, it's because the offense found a way to score 30. Because it doesn't seem like the defense is doing a whole lot to stop many people right now. So there are still issues with the football team, but yesterday those issues weren't big enough to get in the way of them getting their second victory of the year.
Look, I agree. They dominated pretty much the rest of the way. Still, that score by New England came a little too quickly.
It was easy.
Right? It was easy. And you're going to give up an easy touchdown every once in a while. And again, the bottom line, they doubled them up, 32-16. So it was an easy victory. We talked about it in the postgame yesterday. Did not like the idea. I don't mind Doug, the riverboat gambler, going forward on fourth down from the 45-yard line, right? Because it is a different age we're living in. It's not your grandpa's NFL, and people are mocking, the analytics say. Yeah, the analytics say that for a reason. Because it's mathematical numbers that don't have a preference one way or the other.
Right.
They tell you that you're 57% more likely to be successful if you go for it here as opposed to 43% if you don't, or whatever. I'm just making up the number.
It's all on the odds of win or lose.
It's on the odds. Yeah. That doesn't mean the 43% can't come in.
No.
But it's not like they're numbers that are just pulled out of thin air.
Yeah, and we saw it on both sides, right? Like New England going for 2. And I thought that was as dumb as it could be.
That's so dumb.
Right, given where New England was in that game. That's not a football team that's going to score twice. Like, if you don't get that 2-point conversion, they are not a team that's capable
of twice after
right,
that.
Like, they're not capable. They might be able to score one more time in the game, make that be the score that decides whether you get to overtime or not. I couldn't understand that one. I do think we've seen Doug the last 3 weeks especially. He's been way less aggressive on fourth down than he was early in the season. He's been more willing to take the long field goal attempt. He's been more willing to settle for 3 when they get stopped inside the 10. For whatever reasons, he felt like yesterday in that specific situation, I want to go for it here. And, we talked about it in the postgame a little bit yesterday. I'm okay with the calculus in your mind of, guys, we need you to get a half yard. Right? Like telling your offensive line, you've been dominating the entire game. We need you to get a half yard. And we feel like if you get this half yard, you're going to punch it into the end zone for us. That was kind of the feel that he might have had in the game. It's the feel I had. That's why I didn't have a big issue with them not kicking the field goal in the moment, because that's the feel I had. When they had the fourth and half yard, I was like, do it. Like that, but I understand you kick the field goal, you end the game. But I do think he's been a coach that for the last 3 weeks has been the guy who takes the field goal. I'm okay in one moment of him doing it the way that he did it, because I do think it had the potential to pay dividends for the football team going forward. In the end, it all works out because they don't give up the 2-point conversion. They wind up winning the game the way that they did. But I did think it was a more the mentality of his football team kind of moment to me, which he's been willing to kind of soft pedal that the last 3 weeks. It's the first moment where he's been aggressive in that kind of moment in the last 3 weeks, and I'm okay with it given the game situation.
Okay, so all that, and by the way, I'm completely against the decision. Kick the field goal, and you guarantee you're going to win
no doubt.
at that point in time. And for a team that's got one of those in 6 games, you can't afford to not do that.
Totally.
And granted, they got away with it. But all right, so they make that. That's going to set the tone for the rest of the way. So by not making it, does that mean we shouldn't go for it anymore on 4th down?
Never go for it on 4th down. I think
does that mean that? I'm wondering.
I think it might.
Okay.
Given what we've seen them do the last 3 weeks, they were in a situation where they have the lead. They give the offensive line an opportunity because they've been controlling the football game. At that point, they're giving the offensive line an opportunity. I trust you to make it happen on this play. They didn't make it happen on this play. I think different games have different situations, but I think given what we've seen Doug Pederson do the last 3 weeks, I think the next situation like that he comes into, it'll be easy. It'll be easy. He'll kick the field goal. I don't even think it'll be a question the next time because he hadn't had questions about kicking 55-yard field goals the last 3 weeks. He hadn't had questions about kicking 20-yard field goals last 3 weeks.
The thing. It's not like this. There's no degree of difficulty on this. This is a chip shot, old extra point that you're kicking here. You're not going to miss it, and you're going to go up 18 at that point. Look, they won. So it's okay. I'm not, as we say, you can make mistakes along the way. If you come out on top on the scoreboard, then you'll live to fight another day. I'm just talking about a decision in the moment that I absolutely disagreed with at the time. I'm glad they won. I don't care if it was 32-31. I would have taken it. But it just opened the door, and then you're right. Once you score, and you're down 15, you cut it to 9 with a touchdown. To go for 2 there, I heard Coach Campo in the postgame saying, I know what he's thinking. Gerard Mayo's thinking is probably that we don't want overtime. We're going to go for 2 both times and try to win it. Well, now you're just giving yourself like a 1 in 4 chance never mind the fact that you have to score the 2 touchdowns because a 2-point conversion is about 50-50 to make. So you're 50-50 on the first one, then you got to make another one. On top of that, it's just a bad process.
These
to me.
Weird things happen with some of these teams sometimes. Like I wouldn't be stunned if that's the way Gerard Mayo was thinking about it. Right, we're going to go for 2 both times, right? If we have the opportunity to score both times, we're going to go for 2 both times. That doesn't, we're discussing the Jags not kicking a field goal with a 15-point lead, right? And whether it was the right or wrong decision, and we're on different sides of that, and that's okay. And them deciding in that moment, if we score, we're going for 2 every time we score from here to the end of the game. Well, okay, that's why a team would be 1 in 5, and your chances of getting to 2 are really low. In those particular circumstances, they weren't playing the real odds within a game. They were playing whatever gut feeling the coach had. And look, that's on the coach making those kind of calls. And they're probably tearing them up in Boston today. And they should to some degree. But the team's terrible. They have a really bad team up there in New England.
Yeah, Coach Campbell was also talking about Jimmy Johnson yesterday. He said, Jimmy was like a literal genius. Like, he had all the odds in his head. Like, he knew what the percentage was if I go for it here, if I kick the field goal here. And saying, well, if you've got that, fine. Most of the rest of us are coaching on gut. Mm-hmm. Well, no, not anymore. Now it's all on a sheet. Yeah. It's all laid out for you. You don't have to have it in your head anymore. Yeah. You just go, what's the circumstance? Boom, there it is. We're more likely to be successful if we go for it or if we kick or if we punt or we do whatever in this circumstance. So you don't have to have a genius. You have the whole week to prepare those charts and have that ready to go.
There's no way there's any analytics chart that's actually taking into account a 15-point lead, 4th and half a yard that doesn't say kick the field goal. Right,
I couldn't imagine.
Right, there's
no way.
Up
18 here.
Right, there's no way any analytics say don't kick the field goal in this moment. That is the coach coaching off his gut. You can feel however you want to feel about him coaching off his gut in that moment. That's clearly what was happening in that moment.
Right, and it works, so it's all good. You want some positivity? Here's some positivity for you, okay? Not that winning isn't enough for this team that only has a couple of them this year, but Pro Football Network has a stat called Quarterback Plus, because everyone's got a stat, right?
Got to have something.
Everyone's got their own thing, right? Total QBR, passer rating, whatever.
How is he spinning the magic bean?
Where did Trevor Lawrence rank among magic bean spinners this week in Quarterback Plus, do you think? Just give me a rough range. Where do you think he fell this week?
7, 8.
7, 8. How about number 1?
Oh, wow.
Number 1 in the entire National Football League.
How do they determine this stat?
I don't know what goes into the formula. But he did complete 75% of his passes.
Played well.
Right? He didn't take any sacks, obviously. Credit to the offensive line. He didn't get hit for the second time in 3 weeks, which was good. He threw a touchdown. He didn't have any turnovers. So I don't know, because Jared Goff was number 2 on the list. I mean, Jared Goff has been playing out of his freaking mind.
What a month.
Lately.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. At one point in the game, he's 9 for 9 with a quarterback rating in the 150s, and he's had the highest back-to-back quarterback ratings of all time for any starter ever in the history of the stat.
Right.
And then but whatever goes into their QB plus, they really like what they saw from Trevor Lawrence this week. So now you got 3 weeks in a row, because last week Trevor wasn't the problem.
No.
3 weeks in a row where this guy is starting to, if he had been playing like this the full 7 games, you'd be like, yeah, I get why they're paying him the money.
No doubt.
So let's hope the first 4 games are their own thing.
Yeah.
And that we have somewhat turned a corner. Let's continue to give him that elite pass protection, because that was what it was this week.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that New England's got this bevy of rushers that you need to be concerned with. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be the first time we've seen Trevor on a heater, right? Like,
No.
We've seen him get on these kind of roles before. He certainly seems to be in one right now.
Know what we need to do this week, Tone?
What's that?
Go 1-0.
Just
go 1-0.
Just beat the pack.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.